Continuing from the haunting second part, Player 246 now lies peacefully in a marked coffin, a piece in the bloody game. Other soldiers received orders to bring the coffin containing a certain player to the communal sleeping quarters. Everyone quickly gathered to observe. Cho Hyunju opened the coffin lid and realized he was still alive. She called out to everyone to quickly get him out to rescue him in time. Outside, police officer Hwang Junho's group was still adrift at sea with their crew. At this point, the entire group was in a panic as one member had gone missing without a trace. The captain suggested that perhaps he had drunk too much, vomited, and fallen into the water. The young man in the group heard this and realized that last night, at 3 a.m., he also heard a scream and saw Captain Oh Dal-soo there. Junho wanted to try to find the unfortunate young man, but the captain thought it would be a waste of time to look for a corpse when the deadline to find the island was pressing. So the man in the group suggested they should go to the nearest port to find another drone operator. Somewhere, the body of the unfortunate young man had already washed ashore. Returning to the island of the Squid Game, after a minute of silence, the male lead Seong Gi-hun woke up. He looked around in a daze, seeing that most of the other players were gone. To the male lead's question, Hyunju just shook her head, as if silently telling him that everyone was gone. Even Jong-bae, after experiencing the real battle and witnessing everything, could only sit huddled in a corner, trembling with fear. The masked, square-faced man and his henchmen came to inform all the players that 35 players had been eliminated last night. The piggy bank began to receive bloody money. Currently, there are 60 players left, so the total prize money accumulated so far is 39.6 billion. Each person's prize money is 660 million. Now is the time for all players to vote on whether to continue playing. Gi-hun approached them with a furious expression. Despite his desperate screams, holding a gun and pointing it at himself, they only restrained him in response to his cries. The leader was still somewhere, enjoying wine and observing everything on the screen. Junho's boat captain also called to inform him that they had returned to port to find a new drone and would then resume the mission he had given the captain, which was not to let that group reach the island before the game ended. If the situation worsened, they were to eliminate everyone, including the inspector. Back in the game room, it was time to vote. Gi-hun had also lost his usual spirit after many events. He was handcuffed in a corner and considered to have cast a blank vote. Other players were called up one by one to vote to continue or stop. The first person to go up under pressure from below chose to continue the game. The other players were not afraid. In fact, their faces showed satisfaction with her choice. Switching scenes, the square-faced man informed the commander that their total losses were 8 managers and 27 soldiers. The commander ordered the lost personnel to be replaced by new staff and quickly repaired the infrastructure because the VIPs were about to arrive. Underground, the rules remained the same. The bodies of eliminated players were incinerated. However, some marked bodies were moved elsewhere for organ trafficking. The square-faced man, accompanied by Kang No-ul, was one of the masterminds behind this operation. While moving together, he sweet-talked No-ul, asking her why she didn't stay in the north but came to the south for boba, and even invited her on a date in this desolate island. But she was reserved, only wanting to go to the operating room, and as for dating, they could discuss it outside. Back to the players indeed, the greedy players who had no way to survive outside continued to choose to proceed. The old man Oh Il-nam even taunted Gi-hun, suggesting that it was all part of his plan. "You set up a scene to trick everyone outside and then harmed them all, didn't you?" The others also chimed in agreement. The whole group cheered and clapped when their plan to continue went smoothly. The fortune teller Seon-yo approached Gi-hun and said, "You didn't come here willingly, but the restless spirits above you dragged you here. Your friend's screams will grow louder and louder. You will hear those screams until your last breath." As soon as she finished speaking, Gi-hun lost control of his emotions and grabbed her by the neck. Luckily, he was chained. Otherwise, she might have been the one to die. Indeed, player Park Gyong-seok was taken to the operating room with an intact body. The Triangle Man also brought Kang No-ul here to meet his group. He stated that they were all in the same boat, which is why they met without masks to be as fair as possible. No-ul also took off her mask and approached the leader. Just as they were about to deal with player Park Gyong-seok, No-il suddenly attacked with her gun, which was not far away. With her quick wit and agile movements, she dealt with some of the small fry in the area. With a pistol in hand, she approached the bastard and said, "Do you want to know why I came south? My commander was very much like you, so I killed him." With that, he met the same fate as her former commander. The doctor, hiding in a corner nearby, raised his hands in surrender. He was forced to obey orders and receive money. No Ewell didn't say much, pointing the gun at him and ordering, "Save this person or die." After the life or death vote, all players were given food to regain their strength for the next game. Gi-hun sat in a corner, and his elderly mother came to bring him food and comfort him. Hyunju also apologized, saying she should have been the one to find more bullets for everyone. But the glasses-wearing man argued that it wasn't her fault, but Jong-bae's. Everyone at that time, both he and his mother, witnessed Jong-bae going to get bullets, but when he was about to leave, he collapsed to the floor. When Hyunju returned, the masked figures had already stormed in. If his mother hadn't stopped them in time, Hyunju would not have survived. Gi-hun, disheartened, glanced at Jong-bae nearby, who was hiding in a corner enjoying himself. That night, the person who accompanied Hwang Jun-ho came to meet him to finish their unfinished conversation from the morning. He asked about Captain Oh Dal-soo, and Jun-ho said he was his benefactor after saving his life many times. Then, he recounted that last night, at 3 a.m., he saw Captain Oh Dal-soo holding something, a screwdriver. He suspected that Captain Oh Dal-soo had attacked the drone pilot. But Jun-ho remained confident and refuted that idea because he had been with the captain for many years as they tried to find the island until now. From someone who suspected others, he was now suspected by Director Choi of being the one who did it because he had been drinking with the drone pilot. After that, Jun-ho did not want to continue the conversation and told him to go to bed early to prepare for tomorrow. Stepping into the fourth game, all players would be divided into 2 teams, and the team division would be based on the ball each player drew. Below the operating room, the wound stitching was successful, but due to blood loss, player Park Kyung-suk could not wake up yet. No Ewell offered her blood because she was O-type, which might help him. After a while, all players had their team assigning balls in hand. The next game was hide and seek. The green team had to find an exit and escape within 30 minutes, or hide so that the red team could not catch them until the game ended. The red team had to find the green team players in the play area and eliminate them within 30 minutes. If no one was eliminated, they would be eliminated. The green team players were equipped with keys to open escape doors, while the red team was equipped with a sharp knife to easily eliminate opponents. But here, before the game began, dissatisfied players could switch positions, change teams with each other. On this side, Jun-ho's group had also prepared their gear to set off. Director Choi did not move with him. From a corner, he called Jun-ho to let him know that he would investigate what he had said last night. He believed his intuition was rarely wrong and warned Jun-ho to be careful with Captain Oh Dal-soo. In the waiting room, the shaman from the land of fairies with bib number 044 began to perform a ritual to summon Mr. Tiger and Mr. Mouse to guide the way. The long-haired man, a close friend of Thanos, approached Minsu and insulted him. He suggested that Minsu should switch teams because his best skill was hiding, and he urged Minsu to keep this attitude and continue because their team had already ascended to heaven. Lee Myung-gi, currently at the bottom, showed great concern for the person he had betrayed. He said that Kim Jun-hee, even with a weapon in hand, couldn't do anything with a baby inside her. No matter what he said, he still had a hold on his ex-girlfriend, Kim Jun-hee, who couldn't harm anyone. He guaranteed that he would find someone to deal with things and then protect the mother and child. He affirmed that he would take care of everything so that their family could get out of there. But Kim Jun-hee retorted that to protect her child, she would dare to do anything. Perhaps his sincere words at this moment had somewhat touched the fragile emotions of this young pregnant woman. With the mother-son duo, the son was also discussing how to switch teams with his mother. She wanted to switch with another player, and then the two of them would run away together. But he thought this wasn't smart because his mother was old and weak and couldn't run. He wanted his mother to switch teams with him, but she didn't want to because her son was always weak and couldn't harm anyone. He also retorted to his mother, saying that she couldn't do it either. His father used to beat her every day, and she never resisted. He tightly held his mother's knife and promised that the two of them would survive this place. The old man, who owed trillions, sat at the bottom, wondering who to switch teams with. When he found a target and approached, he looked up and saw Gi-hun, which made him realize he should leave without Gi-hun having to say much. Jong-bae also looked for a weak person to ask to switch teams because he knew he wouldn't survive the game. With Gi-hun looking at him from afar, Jong-bae angrily approached, saying that it wasn't his fault and no matter what, they wouldn't win anyway. Gi-hun said nothing, which only made Jong-bae more furious. With pent-up emotions, Jong-bae blamed everything on Gi-hun. It wasn't until the masked man approached and pointed a gun at him that Jong-bae silently stepped back. The game officially began. The green team entered first. Before leaving, the elderly mother instructed her son to play well. Kim Jun-hee, with her weapon and jacket in hand, also advanced. Lee Myung-gi told him to keep his promise. Inside, all the green-clad players went to find their hiding spots. Kim Jun-hee's body was aching from pregnancy. Fortunately, an elderly woman nearby and Hyunju came to help them all find shelter. Lee Myung-gi, outside, had also shaken hands with the long-haired man to complete this task well. The game officially began, and the red team also began their hunt. Gi-hun, with his weapon and a vengeful look, was determined to deal with Jong-bae. After rescuing player Park Yong-seok, No Eul also conveniently sent the unfortunate doctor to his demise. She put her clothes back on and said she had saved him. Back in the game area, once all the green-clad players had hidden, the 30-minute countdown for the game began. This place was nothing short of a labyrinth with countless turns and winding paths. The hunters and hiders would occasionally glimpse each other. The shaman from the land of fairies and her followers were moving together, guided by Mr. Tiger and Mr. Mouse. While moving, the indebted old man found a door, but his key couldn't open it. Later, someone came and helped him open the way, and they both moved together. Hyunju, while moving with the other two, also discovered that their keys had different shapes, and it was fortunate that all three moved together, as only then could they open doors with different shapes. The three old men and Kim Jun-hee voluntarily gave their keys to Hyunju so that she could quickly get all three out of this place and complete the game. After a long time of moving and searching, Gi-hun also found the person he was looking for. The young man ran for his life, trying to find a way out. Finally, in a dead end, he found a door. When he opened it, it was a hole with no way out. Fortunately, he was not the person Gi-hun was looking for. But when Gi-hun stepped outside and looked, the person he was looking for was also looking at him with terror. At this moment, a few other players had found someone to eliminate and passed. Lee Myung-gi and the long-haired man also found an unfortunate victim. Both quickly cornered the young man. He struggled against Myung-gi, but when the long-haired man arrived, 2 against 1 meant he was almost certainly injured or worse. Despite the other player begging because he had an elderly mother at home who was sick, Lee Myung-gi now also wanted to end the suffering quickly. He asked the long-haired man to attack together so they could pass together. On this side, Hyunju's group was discovered by another player, who tried to hunt them all down. Back on this side, Lee Myung-gi wanted the long-haired man to continue looking for the next target because they had only dealt with half. He also cleverly took the victim's necklace, knowing it was the key to opening the door. Then he picked up a candy-filled necklace from the ground and ate one to calm himself. On the other side, Hyunju's group was also cornered. Despite the bastard only wanting to stab the old woman or Kim Jun-hee, Hyunju stood up and decided to protect the 2 weakest people in her team. Switching scenes to the indebted old man while looking for an exit, he encountered a red team player. He quickly ran out and blocked the door, even though his teammate inside had been dealt with by the woman. After dealing with that person, Hyunju also helped Kim Jun-hee and the old woman continue to find an exit. Lee Myung-gi and the long-haired man also found the next target to deal with. After stabbing them, both of them passed this game. Hearing that player number 333 had passed made Kim Jun-hee overjoyed. She believed that since he had promised, he would definitely come to protect her. Indeed, Myung-gi was also very eager to find his beloved. The long-haired man offered to go with him. While moving, he even gave Myung-gi a brutal lesson. While looking for Kim Jun-hee, they would eliminate anyone they encountered. This would both increase the prize money and prevent the red team players from having targets to complete the game. This way, the game could end faster than expected. Unlike the others, Gi-hun was still diligently searching for his prey. Even if he encountered any other players, he would not harm them. What he wanted was to personally eliminate Jong-bae. Jong-bae was currently trying to run away from another player. While the two struggled, he fortunately pushed the player down, causing them to die. Thanks to that, he also had a weapon for self-defense. Hyunju's group also found a safe hiding place. At this point, Kim Jun-hee had a broken ankle and could barely move. Kim Jun-hee wanted to stay here alone so as not to hinder everyone. The old woman offered to stay with the young girl because she felt that both of them had given Hyunju a lot of trouble. But what they didn't expect was that, at this very moment, Kim Jun-hee suddenly went into labor. The glasses-wearing man, after a long search, finally found his target huddled in a corner. Despite his pleas, saying he also had an elderly mother outside who was sick. When the glasses-wearing man's reason began to waver due to empathy, the young man suddenly attacked him. Almost completely losing the initiative, he nearly died on the spot if not for a nearby player who heard the commotion and quickly rushed in to stab the young man. On this side, Kim Junhee was trying to give birth with the help of the old woman and Hyunju. The shaman calmly led her flock to find a peaceful haven, like a savior. The door of hope finally appeared, and the key in her hand suddenly shook violently, as if signaling something was about to happen. However, as soon as she opened the door, she panicked, recoiled, and turned to flee for her life. On the other side of the door, the red team members were lurking like predators, hunting for their next unfortunate prey to save their lives. The shaman did not hesitate to turn her back and abandon all those who had put their trust in her from the beginning. She continued to flee as other players also began to hunt. Unexpectedly, she ran into Oh Il Nam and had to flee into an adjacent room, only to find that it was Gi-hun, the one she had taunted earlier. But luckily, she remembered that he had a grudge against Jong-bae and revealed that she had just seen him outside. She suggested that if Gi-hun just stabbed him, all his karma would be gone. Thanks to this, she also preserved her life and continued to move. While hiding from other players, a voice suddenly spoke from behind. "Don't you see? I have to find Se-byuk. Help me find Se-byuk." The medium quickly escaped into the next room. Min-soo also gave up the idea of stabbing her and turned to leave. But surprisingly, the room she mistakenly entered was the exit everyone was looking for. And the bitter truth for the dirty living person was that 3 keys of different shapes were needed to open the door. She quickly searched the bodies of the unfortunate players, hoping to pick up a survival key to escape this hellish place. On this side, Kim Junhee's efforts were finally rewarded. In the critical moment, a tiny princess cried out, "A miracle," amidst the storm. All 3 were very happy and emotional to see this tiny life. But their joy was short-lived as the enemy arrived. He furiously attacked Hyunju. Although she didn't want to, the situation forced Hyunju to strike him down. Another red-clad player saw this and quickly left as if he had seen nothing. It was thanks to this accidental scuffle with that person that Hyunju found a way out of this hellish place. In overwhelming joy, she turned back to inform everyone, hoping all 3 could leave together. However, those were Hyunju's last words. The last words Hyunju managed to utter before leaving them forever, leaving a choked silence amidst the unfinished escape. And ironically, the one who attacked the kindest girl, the one who was always a beacon of hope for the group, was none other than Lee Myung-gi, the one Kim Junhee had always trusted, waited for with love and longing. Lee Myung-gi knew he had caused great trouble. He quickly left the place and informed the long-haired man that there was no one else there. Gi-hun silently followed the sticky syrup trails on the floor, gradually closing the distance with the one he was hunting. In a simmering rage, when the traces suddenly disappeared, a chill ran down his spine. His intuition told him that the man was holding his breath, hiding behind the door. Switching scenes, the shaman and the old man in debt had also found the exit. The moment the door opened, the old man quickly ran in and closed it, leaving her behind. It's certain he would face the consequences later. Min-soo also went to the meeting place to see her, but perhaps her fate was sealed. At this moment, due to an illusion, the boy who listened to the poem saw her as a long-haired stranger. He didn't hesitate to send her off to meet the people she had betrayed. Meanwhile, Gi-hun was moved by Seho's pleas. He honestly said he was just an incompetent person because he wanted to play with everyone. And at that time, he didn't see himself as an incompetent and useless person. While Gi-hun was hesitating, Seho suddenly attacked him. Even though Gi-hun was surprised and pushed him away, he quickly kicked Gi-hun away and ran off. At the exit door, the old mother met her son again. He only wanted to attack Junhee because if he didn't, he would lose his life. The mother tried her best to stop her son and wanted him to spare her, as she had lived long enough anyway. Only then could her son and Junhee escape safely. Seho was cornered and decided to fight Gi-hun to the death. The two rushed at each other and Gi-hun used all his strength and anger to take him down until he collapsed. As for the exit, the guy with glasses couldn't bring himself to do anything to his mother, so he went to Junhee. Seeing the child in her arms made him stop for a moment, but his mother attacked him from behind because she wanted to protect Junhee and her child. He collapsed in his mother's arms and apologized to her. The masked group from afar also came and eliminated him. The eliminated players were quickly cleaned up by the staff. As for Gi-hun, after finishing with Seho, he fainted and was taken away by the staff. Myung-gi and the long-haired guy were already in the safe area. The long-haired guy lost the candy necklace and was angry, wanting to go back to find it, but was stopped by the staff. Junhee and the older woman then returned to the area with her baby. Then the masks also returned and announced the remaining players after the fourth round. A total of 35 players were eliminated, leaving 25 players. The total accumulated prize money was now 43.1 billion won, with 1.724 billion won for each person. All players would now begin voting to decide whether to continue playing or not, or the VIP guests were very excited, as they had just joined the staff in dealing with the players who failed to complete their missions. They were all very satisfied that the new person who took over for Chairman O had done such a good job. The square-faced man received information from his subordinates that the operating room had lost contact. Meanwhile, No Yul and Player 246 were in disguise and moving together. They continued to search for the island to play with the newly hired drone pilot. Director Choi suddenly called to inform him that the captain was extremely suspicious. No one knew his information in the fishing area, and he warned them to keep an eye on him. The voting began again, and the hard-working old mother immediately voted to stop. She fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face, and begged everyone to spare Junhee, the young girl who had just given birth to a baby who was still alive and lying in the corner of the room. She was willing to give all her prize money to the remaining players, believing she had suffered enough and lived long enough with nothing left to lose. After receiving orders from their superiors, the staff also scanned the numbers of the 2 people who had died in the operating room. When the guests saw the image of the old mother, they mocked her. "I wonder if she really said she would give all the bonus money to others. She's crazy, harming her own child just to save a child and a girl she just met." That tragic story, that sacred motherly love, accidentally became cheap entertainment for the heartless rich. Those who sat in high seats threw money away just to gossip and laugh at the pain of those weaker than them. The square-faced man received information that soldiers number 5, 7, and 25 were offline. The old man had a gunfight, and the soldiers in the hospital suspected number 16. A man on the shore, after observing the image, felt that the island in front of him was very familiar and wanted the captain to take him in for inspection. Junhee in the waiting room was filled with regret, thinking that she had caused the old lady to harm her child. But she didn't blame the old lady. She only hoped that she and her child could leave this place safely. She found the operating room manager's room, pointed the gun at him, and wanted to escape this place tomorrow with number 16. When he got to the mysterious island, in his unconscious memory, he vaguely realized that this was the place they were looking for. The old lady went to sit next to Gi-hun to talk to him. No matter how you look at it, this world is so unfair. Bad people do bad things but blame others and live peacefully. On the contrary, every time something bad happens, good people blame themselves and others. Her son was such a person, very timid and stupid. He always blamed himself, even when a trusted friend ran away with money, when his company went bankrupt, and when he was cheated by creditors. But in the end, it was she who harmed her son. She harmed the child she had given birth to. She cried and begged Gi-hun to save Junhee and her son. In the end, she still believed that he was the one who came here to save everyone. Instead of begging for her own life, she only hoped that Gi-hun could save Junhee and her son. Director Choi and his men returned to an old house, determined to find evidence of Captain Park's strangeness. No Yul also received the key as agreed. But the deputy commander saw something unusual on the screen and asked the staff to return to the operating room for a checkup. After pouring out her heart, confessing her past mistakes, and expressing sincere repentance, the old woman quietly chose to end her life as a way to free herself from the pain and guilt that weighed heavily on her soul. After the staff member checked the body in the operating room, he discovered that number 16 was not the doctor's name but player 246. After searching the mysterious house, Director Choi discovered the image of the bastard who had harmed his boss, and happily took a photo with Captain Park. The dog guarding the place suddenly attacked him, forcing him to pull out his gun and finish it. He returned to the dog cage and discovered that there was a lot of money hidden there along with a staff uniform. But the police had also arrived and pointed their guns at him. The next game began again, without a minute of rest. Junhee tiredly dragged her injured body along with her crying baby in her arms. In the middle of this hell with no way out, every step she took was like fighting against fate. Gi-hun felt heartbroken and went up the path to help this poor girl. The guests sat in a noble place, watching the pitiful scene of Junhee, a young mother crawling with her suffering child. However, in their eyes, there was not even a trace of pity, only coldness and cruelty. It was as if the pain of others was just an entertaining drama for them to start betting with each other. On the way with Gi-hun, Jun-hee gently opened her heart about the happiness of being a mother. No matter how harsh the circumstances were, the child in her arms was still the only light in the darkness of despair. However, that joy was not complete, because deep down, her heart was still heavy with worry. The rich guys looked at Jun-hee's image and thought of an extremely crazy game. He wanted to let his child participate in the game with Jun-hee, thinking that a mother would do anything to save her child. Who knows? Player 222 might turn into a Marvel hero because of this. The group all liked this idea, and the bettor also wanted to entertain them. All the players went to the next game area. The next game was jump rope. In 20 minutes, the players had to jump over the rotating rope and walk to the other side of the bridge. The music started, and the players began to get into the rhythm to be able to cross this place. Gi-hun wanted Jun-hee to leave the child behind, and he would help her cross the game and then come back to pick up the child. But suddenly, the staff came and demanded that the child be taken along, because when in this area, everyone was considered a player, and if they couldn't cross the bridge within the time limit, they would be eliminated. The long-haired guy was provoked by Min-soo, who knew that what he was looking for was candy in a necklace. He threw the necklace in the middle of the bridge for him to go there and get it. He slowly crawled step by step to get it, but when he opened it, there was nothing, and the result was known to everyone. Min-soo kept the last candy for himself. After the first person went, Gi-hun also carried the baby, and together they crossed the game. He slowly walked to the middle of the bridge but could not cross it. Amidst the urging of the remaining players, Gi-hun finally bravely jumped over and completed his part of the test. With only 12 minutes left, the other players also overcame their fear and moved forward together. The old man who owed money also wanted to cross together and was willing to share the prize money and block the remaining people. The people behind also perished together due to arguing. The woman was afraid of losing her strength and even her life, so she risked turning back. But when she turned back, she was kicked down by a player. Gi-hun couldn't stand this scene anymore after watching. He threatened the man that he would push him down if he did that again. Thanks to that, he also helped a few people escape danger. Myung-gi couldn't bear to see his ex-girlfriend hiding in a corner in pain. He went up to her and offered to go with her, but Jun-hee was extremely angry that the person she trusted had harmed Hyun-ju. He wanted all three of them to live and get out of here. He wanted to help her. Jun-hee showed him the wound on her leg. Myung-gi looked at the wound and felt like his heart was being cut, unable to speak. On the other side of the line, Gi-hun was ambushed by the man. Even though he didn't want to, he still had to fight back and make him eat Western beetle. Thanks to that, some people who were still there were lucky to survive. Min-soo, thanks to that magic candy, was able to confidently walk across the bridge, very happily. Myung-gi also quickly joined the game to cross the bridge. The man in front of him accidentally tripped. He tried his best to call for help, but now his life was in danger. How could he save him? He insisted on jumping over the man and quickly finished his part. In the last remaining minute, Gi-hun wanted to go back to save Jun-hee. Little Lei walked out wearily to beg Gi-hun not to go back. If something happens to him, his children will die. That was the last, simple, yet sacred refusal. A message that was not only a farewell, but also a full stop of sacrifice from a mother who fought until the last minute for her little child. On the VIP guests' side, they were discussing this difficult result of the game. Some people thought that the child should be eliminated because player 222 had died. But some people also wanted to keep the child because the original rule was to let the person who reached the finish line survive. After the group disagreed, the host suggested, or let the child play as player 222 in the next game. Han was confident that if the child participated, both the voting round and the next round would be extremely exciting. The VIPs unanimously agreed with the host's idea. 16 players were eliminated in the previous round, and now there were 9 players left. Hearing 9 players made some people feel dissatisfied. The staff started to read the numbers of the remaining players. As soon as he heard the number 222, the man who pretended to owe 10 billion immediately stood up and protested strongly. But then the staff coldly announced that the child was player number 222. Faced with this information, the shameless, debt-ridden people immediately spoke up to criticize a child. They screamed that it was unfair, that a creature that had done nothing did not deserve a reward. The whole group stepped forward to settle things. As soon as they got close, a gunshot was heard from the staff. Now, the rules of the game must be fair, no harm to each other. and to congratulate the players for reaching the final game, they had prepared a special gift. As for Director Choi, he was being detained by the police for trespassing and harming animals. He tried to explain that the money there was dirty money, and that the uniform was the criminal uniform of those who dealt with illegal people. And of course, the police did not believe him, because no gang would use such costumes to act in the world. Despite Choi's constant explanation that the person in the photo was an accomplice and had killed his own brother, the police had information that Director Choi had 9 previous convictions. The person they had arrested that he had just mentioned was a very honest man who had been convicted of illegal gambling. The rest had never committed any crimes in the past 10 years, not even breaking traffic laws. Director Choi wanted to make a private phone call to inform them, but the police here refused. He then called Captain Park directly to report that there was a thief in his house and read Director Choi's name. He immediately said that he did not know that person and hung up, but he still kept a calm face. Choi saw that the situation was probably not good, so he tried his best to beg them to call his lawyer. As soon as he received the phone call, he immediately called him and ran out of there. He reported that Captain Park was the person from the organization and that he had found his money and uniform right behind the house. Captain Park also called his comrades on another nearby boat to deal with everyone here. As soon as he asked about the remaining son, he suddenly appeared from behind and shot him. In his last moments, he remained silent and refused to say the location of the island. He also said that someone ordered him to save his life by all means. Returning to the players on this side, they had a very sumptuous meal, and Junhee's baby was also taken care of very attentively by the staff. VIP guests thought that with such a large prize money, most players would choose to stop even if there was a child who reduced the amount. But the host hoped he wouldn't worry because he was sure that the players would choose to continue if they were sure they would survive. In the final round, all players would be able to choose the player they wanted to eliminate. If everyone agreed to choose 3 people to be eliminated, all remaining players would pass. You only need to choose at least 3 players to be eliminated, but if you choose more, that's fine too. In short, at least 3 people are eliminated, and who is eliminated is chosen by all the players, and the 6 survivors will win and leave this place. The vote then took place. Of course, Gi-hun still wanted to stop this game, but Myung-ji, the child's father, suddenly wanted to continue to receive a larger amount of money. And the other players unanimously agreed to continue, except for Min-soo, who wanted to stop. Only then did he tell the truth that he wanted to find that island. In addition to saving innocent people, he wanted to find his lost brother. The dream came as expected. No-yeol and player 246 safely left the island. But right after that, the commander also called and wanted her to bring that man back. As soon as he heard him threaten his family, No-yeol had no choice but to turn back to that hellish island. Indeed, as expected, all the remaining players wanted to eliminate Gi-hun, the child, and the fool Min-soo. As soon as he returned to No-yeol's island, he wanted player 246 to immediately run away from this place as quickly as possible to take care of his daughter at home. Without saying anything more, she returned alone, and the commander also received news that the ship had left again and ordered to kill both of them. Scene change. Gi-hun was told to go talk privately with the game's host. He wanted to make a proposal to him regarding his and the baby's future. Immediately after that, he sent him a knife and placed it on the table. To protect the baby, he had no choice but to skewer all the trash in the room. They had eaten and were all ground very strongly, just a light cut, and no one would know. After that, he slowly removed his mask to reveal the familiar face of his old teammate who had fought alongside him in the first rounds. With a calm but fierce voice, he made a terrifying proposal. If there were only 2 people left, he should skewer them all. I promise, both you and the child will leave this place safely. The person who doesn't play the game will be destroyed. Player 456, do you still believe in humanity? He challenged, his eyes and voice filled with doubt, carrying the last remaining faith in a place where it seemed like no one was worth trusting. In the past, the current game master was also pushed into a life and death game, just like Gi-hun's situation right now. And in order to save his own life, he chose to sacrifice others. Now, as he watched Gi-hun on the screen, perhaps deep down, he was wondering, would anyone do the same if they were pushed to the limit? Or would there be others who chose another way, choosing faith and humanity over pure survival instinct? Indeed, at the moment Gi-hun was about to act, the buggy appeared. That player looked at Gi-hun with a loving gaze filled with love and sadness. You are not that kind of person. Suddenly, Gi-hun realized that his nature was not that evil. He silently took his weapon, and returned. The mastermind also connected with his younger brother offshore, telling him to give up coming here. The lights turned on, and the baby's cry and the alarm clock woke all the players up after a night of drinking. Noelle found the commander and pointed a gun at him. She successfully made him delete all information about player 246. About to kill him, he calmly replied that there was still an original in the master's base, and the only person who could enter that place was him. At this time, all the players were taken to the place where the next game took place. Everyone entered the elevator and was taken up high. As for Noelle, she was still gradually shrinking against the commander in the elevator because he had already tried to attack her. The two of them arrived at the master's room. Sure enough, without a gun, Noelle could not fight him. When pressed for the reason for causing trouble, Noelle gently replied that if player 246 died, the child would also die. So she caused trouble only because she was worried about others. Did that ease the feeling of guilt for leaving her child behind? Just when he was about to finish her off, Noelle suddenly counterattacked. But perhaps that was not enough, and he was knocked down with a glass of wine nearby. Immediately after that, another employee also called the deputy commander to wait for him to read the order. He lit a cigar and enjoyed the moment watching his prey crawling to find a way to escape, still confident that the elevator could not help her escape this place. But what was inside the elevator was what he could not carry with his bare hands. Back to the players' side, they will play the game of Squid in the air. Players will play on square, triangle, and circle towers. Players will push people on each tower in turn. In the first round with the square, push at least one player alive from the tower down, and all the living players move on to the next round. Similarly, with the triangle in the second round and the circle in the last round. Finally, on the top of the round tower, push down at least one player, and all the remaining players will become the overall winner. Of course, according to their discussion last night, those who voted to refuse to continue playing naturally became the target for them to win this game. Minsu up here was constantly haunted by the bastards who had bullied him since the first rounds. They appeared and wanted to harm him. The others were still discussing to love me the most and leave here. Some even said that it would be best to kill number 222 because the child had no mother and didn't even know if he had a father. How could he leave here alive? Feeling that his child was being threatened, Myung-ji tried her best to convince them to choose a target for me to love to complete 3 rounds smoothly. So they changed the target to someone easier to kill, which was Minsu, who was standing alone. Although Minsu was very scared, he still tried his best to resist, making these people wary. Because if anyone pushed him now, he would at least commit suicide with that bastard. Time was running out, and the situation was hanging by a thread. In that tense moment, Myung-ji coldly picked up the iron bar that was placed. Then he walked over alone, his eyes determined to personally end everything. Right at that moment of parting, Minsu suddenly saw the image of Seimi, the girl he had betrayed. She stood there, her eyes gentle, reaching out her hand as if inviting. Noelle went alone to scout the place where the VIPs were staying, and the next game quickly began. Sure enough, these bastards quickly decided that number 222 would be the next to leave. Gi-hun also asked the group again after asking both of them to go down the cliff. Then in the next round, who would be the one to choose to leave? Or would they vote to decide? The game continued to count down the time. Gi-hun reminded the guy holding the stick if he had the guts to go ahead, because in the next round, he might also become the victim, and the people behind him were already starting to gossip. This sentence simply made him stop and want to think more. The group began to have conflicting opinions and conflicts with each other. At this time, Myung-ji from behind said that he had a way. The scene change also found the remaining file of player 246 here. He was now being chased by other employees, and although he resisted, it was probably insignificant to them. At the moment when he could only lie down and wait, suddenly there was a gunshot from afar, rescuing him very timely. Back to the game, all the players played rock, paper, scissors together. The loser of this game would have their Ao die tied up to go out to negotiate with Gi-hun. They made a deal with Gi-hun that they would draw lots together to choose the ugliest person. But he felt something was wrong and wanted to bring the lot over here. He would draw it himself because he did not trust them. The bastard saw that Myung-do was exposed and immediately grabbed him and wanted to drag him in. Gi-hun took out the knife from before and quickly cut the scissors that they made, causing them all to fall down. The bastard was also threatened by him and was cornered. At this moment, Myung-ji suddenly went up and attacked him. Then he also showed his face to the whole group that he was on Gi-hun's side. When these bastards saw that both of them had weapons, they started singing the song of justice. Now they wanted to draw lots to make public and private matters clear and fair. The old man in the Det clan also countered that Myung-ji was the traitor, but he revealed that he did everything for the child, and that child was his biological son. The upper-class people above were extremely pleased to see this scene, talking about family and mother-child love. They thought that this batch of contestants was very impressive when there was also player number 456 returning. Myung-ji insisted that Gi-hun trust him this time, and was sure that with the weapons in their hands, those people were nothing. Immediately after that, the weakest person on the other side was bullied by these bastards to find out who could lose their lives for this game. These bastards not only attacked brutally, but also broke the ugly guy's legs. Gi-hun raised his own weapon and pointed it at them, thinking that this was not the way. Now he wanted to use a fairer method, which was drawing lots. Those bastards just wanted to end the game quickly, regardless of the tense situation. The whole group rushed into a fight, creating an unnecessary chaos in the middle of a heated moment. Myung-ji and Gi-hun had already dealt with the people who threatened the two of them. The old man in the Det clan realized that the game was no longer in his favor, so he quickly changed his position, trying his best to convince everyone to end the game together. However, Myung-ji did not want to give up so easily. The remaining players realized that no matter what choice they made, it would only lead to death because their bodies were no longer intact. In his eyes, staying was no different from being a sacrifice for others. Player 246 at C explained to Junho that he was not on the same side as the others. After Junho checked again, he realized that he was the player who had just escaped from this place. He then pointed to the faraway island where the game was still taking place. The final round had not yet begun, but Myung-ji had gone ahead to get a weapon and block the door. He threatened and wanted Gi-hun to hand over the baby to him, even though he knew that the next round required someone to sacrifice. Gi-hun was afraid that he would sacrifice the baby for himself. After finding out where the records were kept, she did not hesitate to burn all the remaining information of the players. But when she was about to leave, something suddenly appeared in her sight like a big question mark. On the surface, Gi-hun wanted to fight to save his father and son from here, but Myung-ji did not believe him. The more he explained, the less Myung-ji listened and kept thinking about Gi-hun. Gi-hun had no choice but to leave the baby and return to the square, but he quietly pulled out a nearby knife when Myung-ji was not paying attention. Myung-ji attacked him with an iron rod, but then he also bounced back against the iron rod that also fell from above. Feeling that human strength was limited, Myung-ji could not win against Gi-hun, so he immediately threatened the life of his own son. Gi-hun was a busybody, so he immediately returned the knife to him and also prepared to attack. The two rushed into each other and ended up falling into the abyss together, but Myung-ji suddenly grabbed the iron bar on the wall and climbed back up. This surprised all the tycoons looking down from above, because no one had ever won this game twice. But now, when returning to the circle, Gi-hun realized that the game button had not been pressed to start. After a long time diving at the bottom of the sea, Junho finally succeeded in breaking into their secret base, carrying the hope of overthrowing the truth that had been hidden for so long. At the same time, Han sat quietly in a dark corner, the flickering firelight reflecting her dazed face. In her hand was a gun, and Han wavered between life and death, like a final escape from the endless chain of tragedies. Gi-hun held the little baby in her arms and stood still in front of the eyes of all the living people in this place. He gently held the little girl in his arms, placing the newborn baby on the cold ground with all the tenderness he had left. Raising his head, his eyes no longer contained resentment, only a fragile belief in a different future. We are not horses. We are humans. That was Gi-hun's last denial before he fell off the cliff himself, trading his life to save the little creature that had just been born in the middle of hell on Earth. The Coast Guard ship had approached the island. Hearing this news, the master immediately ordered the game to end and gather for evacuation. At the same time, he pressed the button to set the timer to destroy the entire place without leaving any trace. Before leaving, the master went to Gi-hun's body, took off his mask, and looked at him one last time as a farewell. He walked over and hugged the poor baby in his arms. Junho also arrived and caught his brother, but he could not kill him. Just like that, the whole place quickly fell into a sea of fire. In the dark dungeon, someone found a place to hide a lot of money. After a month passed, Mo-un was still alive and was modeling for player number 246 to draw. His baby Naejon was luckily much healthier. Seeing this image made No-yul somewhat happy, and she immediately left. At the detention center, Director Choi was also picked up by Gi-hun after being released on bail. Gi-hun told him that the money at the motel had been completely taken without knowing who the culprit was. When he returned home, he found the child with registration number 2222 in his house, along with a business card stating that player 2222 had won, and a bank card. He quickly went to the nearest ATM to check, and was surprised to find that the amount of money inside was 45,600,000,000 won, making his eyes widen. Today at the airport, the broker who found lost relatives also found relatives for the family who had lost contact for many years. Seeing No Aeul's silhouette, he also enthusiastically called and sent her some words of encouragement. It turned out that the owner secretly went to find Gi-hun's biological daughter and gave her the relic. Inside was a set of clothes from the Squid Game and a bank card. The end of the movie also made it seem like the terrible nightmare had ended, but somewhere in the world, the game of smashing paper to find prey to join the new game still exists. As long as the upper class and human greed still exist, that game will be immortal.